Onkwarihwa'shon, and welcome to Onkwarihwa'shon Television, a program about legislation in Kahnawake, how we go about making it, amending it, and all that goes with it. On the program today, we'll have Chief Martin LeBourne, who sits as a council chief on the Kahnawake Legislative Coordinating Commission. We'll talk about his role and some of his thoughts about what's been going on. But on the first part of the program, we're joined by Gahonda Horn-Miller, who is the coordinator for the KLCC. And first of all, just want to say welcome to the program and happy Valentine's Day to everyone. So just so you know, I don't wear this every day. There's lots to talk about today, Gahonda, so I guess we better get right down to it. For the longest time, we seem to have been in a holding pattern, waiting for things to happen. Well, guess what? They're happening. This program goes to air on the Tuesday, the first time it'll air on Tuesday the 21st, there will be a public meeting, first of all, and then on the 28th, we have our first ever hearing for the elections law. Now, the Kahnawake election law has been problematic for a great many years. There have been some adjustments to it, but never any major amendments. That's been asked for a long time. Lori Jacobs, a community member who also happened to be a past electoral officer, sent in a request a couple of years back to have that looked at, and the request, of course, was granted, as every request is. Anybody who puts in a request, it is addressed. This one comes up on the 28th for its first ever hearing. They've gone through the process, so where are we at now?
Well, we're heading into, on the 28th, we'll be having the first community hearing where we ask the community to decide on whether or not we're going to go ahead, to give us the mandate to go ahead and amend the law. So really that's what that first hearing's about. After that, at that same hearing, we'll be choosing community representatives to sit on the technical team that will be going over the law, and also determining the scope, purpose, and mandate of those changes to the law.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's an open palette right now. I mean, an open canvas, and get the palette, and let's start looking at what people have said. We talked on the previous program with Trina Jacobs about some of the recommendations that have come out. Now, when we go to these hearings, we set up in the three groups, and I guess some of the recommendations are put out there. But really, it's the community at that point that can do whatever it chooses.
Exactly. It's really the community's time to participate. It's their opportunity to give their input, give their say on what they want to see changed, if anything at all, and how that'll happen. All we do is facilitate the process. We make sure that the forum is there for everyone to participate. It's really up to community members to give their input.
Now, of course, according to Trina and the reports, the indications are that there are some issues that will be addressed, and the job of the facilitators and the people who are organizing the meeting is to make sure that people have a comfort level to say whatever they feel like talking about and giving their opinion.
Yeah, well, we do have community rules, hearing rules of engagement, shall we call it, where people have to speak respectfully, give their opinions. You know, there's a certain decorum that has to be maintained for people so that everything's done in a good way, with a good mind and a good intent, so that people feel comfortable about participating.
And of course, we hope that many people do come out, because it is something that has been talked about for a long time. Previously, we mentioned the sanitary conditions law wasn't exactly overwhelmed with people, but basically that is a law that most people were generally supportive of, and unless you were involved in that type of work or business, it didn't really interest a lot of people. And when people are against or worried about something or concerned about something, they generally have more input and more of them come out. So I guess we expect, based on years of discussion now, that this one should be very interesting.
Yes, I hope to see lots of people there. I know that over the years, a lot of people have had much to say about what they feel changes that are needed to the law. So this is the opportunity to see that happen.
So this will be the first hearing. It's on the 28th of February. It's a Tuesday, 6 to 8. Something that's very important to note is that all of the hearings are scheduled for a set time, because we have to respect the fact that people have lives.
Yeah.
I know if you go back 300 years ago when the corn was planted and the deer was butchered, you might have had a lot more time to sit throughout the days, but people's lives are different now, and we have to respect that. But 6 to 8, we're asking people to get there for any of the hearings about 15 minutes earlier, because you will be sitting in groups, because the community decision-making process is not your usual band meeting. If you've never been to one yet, it is a different approach. We've talked about that on past programs. It's more in line with how we made decisions in the past. It's not that process exactly, but it reflects.
It's a version of that, yeah. It's a evolution of it.
So
that will be also. I'd like to point out that it will be taking place at the Knights of Columbus upstairs. So hope to see you there.
And it'll be the first of several, expected to be several, because if a mandate is given to move forward with some amendments, then other meetings will happen. But one of the complaints in the past was that the process was slow, and we're looking at moving things along maybe a little more efficiently. We don't want to rush things, but also we don't want people to say, well, I'm just sitting around and waiting. So we're making adjustments. Again, it's a new process, and we're asking people to be patient and also to get involved. Other things on the agenda here, we talked about anti-tobacco recently. Not much had been happening for a while, but now that one starts to move forward, and maybe an explanation on what that is and what are the first steps.
Well, it's taken a while to get to this point. There will be a kiosk at the services complex starting this Thursday and next Thursday as well, where the technician and hopefully the proponent, Ganhaze, will be sitting and answering any questions on what kind of changes or what kind of a law is envisioned about anti-tobacco. It's a chance to get some, give your input a little bit, to get some feedback, get some information on what is anti-tobacco, what does that mean, what kind of a law it could be, what is some of the history behind it. It's a kiosk that will be at the services complex. Also, there's going to also be a radio. They'll be on the radio as well at a lunchtime. The Noon Hour Talk Show, we're not sure. The date has not been set yet, but probably by the time this goes to air, it'll be. A press release will go out, and you'll know more about when that will take place, and you can listen in. And so that's moving ahead. It's very good.
There will be other events that take place on that, but the horse has left the barn, so to speak. And this one should be very interesting, because basically what the proponent is saying is that we shouldn't sell or manufacture tobacco in Kahnawake unless it's for ceremonial purposes. So obviously that will cause some people to say, is that something we're looking at? That will be for the community to decide whether or not that law is wanted, but the work has started, and it should be interesting. Other things going on, just a brief update on the Justice Act.
Yeah, they're meeting in the next 2 weeks to finalize the draft, which will then be coming to the community probably in late March for first reading, and community members will be asked to give their feedback and input on the change, on the law, and it'll be another community forum.
Yep, and that was, again, the big one, the first one that we looked at, actually a couple of years now. And drafting has been going on for quite a while, and was this close to being completed before Christmas, and we're very close. One other piece of legislation that came in that we should talk about is one that came from not a community member, but a group of 39 people who signed a request for some legislation. Maybe you can talk about that.
It's called the Onkwarihwa'shon law, which is essentially a zoning law. We received on January 23rd, I think it was, a letter or request for this law, and it was signed by 39 members, which is very positive. What it shows us on the KLCC, on the Commission, is that this process is recognized, and it's seen as the process where new laws are made, and it's the where the community can participate, and they feel that they have the opportunity to submit their own ideas on a new zoning law. So it's very positive.
Just to be clear, they, in their letter, never mentioned the word zoning because
No.
for years, and I know we're going to talk to Martin about this later on, but zoning has always been a dirty word, you know, and you can't do it. It's not our way. But over time, people have become frustrated a lot, and some of the things that are happening, and so they're looking at, in effect, what is some type of zoning and requesting it, and that's what's going to be coming up in the next little while.
What the next steps for that are, we sent a letter back to the group, I guess it is, acknowledging the receipt of the letter, and we've sent it to the legal department for classification as a type 1 or type 2 process law. So that's where we stand on that.
If you've never watched this program before, type 1 is a law of general application. These are the ones where community members come in and actually create the mandate, the specs for it and everything. And those are laws of general application. Type 2 processes are what we saw with the sanitary conditions, which is basically, you know, regulatory in nature and more limited in scope.
Yes.
You know, so that one is less time consuming in theory, and still has community input, but is accelerated a little bit. But this one will be, I'm pretty sure, type 1, but we didn't get to that point yet. Legal will bring that to Chief and Council. It'll come back, and then the plan of action will be announced in the next little while. So you've been pretty busy of late.
I have. We also held a legislative review where we asked key stakeholders who are either involved with the commission itself or in units of the MCK or community members to sit down with us for a day and go over the KLCC itself and also the community decision-making process and see what's going to happen. What do we feel is working? What's not working? How can we get community members engaged in the process? How do we get MCK units to engage in the process as well? It was a big day for a lot of discussion, and the final report is being written as we speak, and will be available at some point.
And for those who may be wondering how often does the commission meet, it's usually on a weekly basis, as well as if there's other types of hearings that are going on. But it takes a lot of time, but generally the weekly meetings are an hour and a half to 2 hours at max. So this event gave the opportunity for the participants to be there all day and really focus on it, and I think it was quite useful. And we have a new community member who participated in that. What has she said so far about what she's seen with the process?
She's in a learning situation. She's new. But she's very keen because she's involved in doing her master's degree, but also with a focus towards what she can bring back to her community. So this kind of work, being involved with key things that are happening in the community in terms of governance, is really invigorating for her. I think she's really enjoying it. Although she's learning a lot, I think she's really keen. She's very, very, very open-minded and very, very good.
Yeah, Orenda is her name.
Orenda Boucher-Curat.
Yeah, she has come on board very recently, has participated now in a couple of meetings and also in that in the process. And for those who may not have heard, Lori Jacobs is the alternate right now. Yeah. So as time goes on, that in itself may change, because since the last time you were here, we didn't have a community representative on the KLCC. No. So as time goes on, hopefully more and more community members will be involved as this continues in its devolution or evolution, moving away from the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake. The people will be having more of a direct hand in creating legislation. So anything else we missed?
Membership.
Okay. Anything to report?
Well, we received word from the Social Development Unit that they'd like to move ahead with now putting the membership law through the process. And I know there's some other actions going on with regards to what's happening over there, but look forward to that. Look, it's coming down the line.
Okay, there were some consultations that were done and presentations, etc. So the train is getting back on track, so to speak. Yep. So it's going to be a busy year, I guess. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much
for joining us. And that, of course, is our guest, Gahanda Horn-Miller, who is the coordinator of the Kahnawake Legislative Coordinating Commission. Coming up in a moment, you don't want to miss the second half of the program. Chief Martin LeBourne joins us. Learn about how Kahnawake laws are now made using the community decision-making process by watching Onkwarihwa'shon TV. Learn how laws are proposed, how they're made, how they're passed, how amendments are made, and everything in between by watching us and the panel every Tuesday here on Channel 4, Onkwarihwa'shon TV. Hope you'll join us. And welcome back to Onkwarihwa'shon Television. Joining us on the program today for the second part is Chief Martin LeBourne, who is part of the Chiefs Advisory Committee on the Kahnawake Legislative Coordinating Commission. We'll talk about that. And a lot of other things. First of all, Martin, I'm glad to finally do an interview with you that's more than 3 minutes long.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Maybe I could state my opinion on some of the things that are going on. Some of my support, some maybe my dislikes of what's going on, but that's what I'm here for. And
for those who don't know Chief LeBourne, he's kind of like one of the man of the people type who every time I've ever seen him trying to sit down for breakfast, he can barely eat because people are always dropping in and giving opinions and asking questions, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a role that works for you.
Yeah. It's a big role that I play, and because no matter what the issue is or how big it is or how small, how petty it is, it might be a small thing at the council table, but for those community members that have those concerns, it's a big deal. So I address little concerns, big concerns. It doesn't matter what it is, I'll address it. Your voice will be heard.
Martin's voice was certainly always heard. I can recall back in years past when quite often you were on the other side of things, you know, council this and council that, and then you ran for council and said, I'm going to start doing some things to help change it. And now here we are sitting here a few years later. You've been on council now for several terms, and you've seen some changes. One of the biggest ones is community decision-making process. So when it first came around, you were kind of wondering about it.
Well, I had to know what it was about, and I always said that we need to get back, because of the outcry in the community was, you're not involving us in the decision that you make at council. You sit there in your almighty office and do things without telling us what to do. So we decided that the outcry of the community was, our voice needs to be heard. So we said, let's put this together, do this thing, and involve the community in the decision making of this community. Whether it doesn't have to be law, it could be on anything, but we need to have the participation of the community. And that's when we went to the mandate for the justice was the first one. We went there, we got the mandate. It was a lengthy, if I recall, it was 8 or 9 meetings that we had to attend, but we finally got it. And that's where I looked at the way the program was set up. To me, it's similar to the clan system. Some people may not want to say that, but that's what it is. And I agree that system it works, and we should be able to use that because it's ours. That belongs to all Onkwarihwa'shon. So I don't have a problem using it and saying it is similar to the system, the clan system. And that from there we got the mandate, and that's where I decided to get on as chief's overseer, like to oversee the process. We had community members to make sure that the community's voice was carried out, and myself with other chiefs were there to make sure that that process was carried out the way the community said it. If it went astray, you were in a few meetings with me, and I said, hey, that's not what was said. It's got to go this way. This is what the community is saying. They're not saying this. And so did most of the community reps at that meeting, said the same thing. So we kind of kept it in line.
It's a good safety mechanism.
Yes.
Because, yeah, you have the chief and council, and you have the community reps, and then you have the technicians, and they all kind of have to keep an eye on each other to make sure it's following the path that the community asked for. So,
well, we do have some good community members that are participating, and they're very strong about pushing what the community's voice was. That's why it took so long. You know, no, the community didn't say it this way. We had to bring it back. Community is this. We had to do it. Bring it back. And a lot of the times we're accused of, well, it's council heavy. Council is pushing it. Well, that's why we need to get away from that and have the community involved more than what they are today. To get involved with the everyday issues, the making of laws, the making of policies. I don't always like laws. Everything doesn't have to be a law, but there's things that need to be done in this community where everybody can respect everybody's wishes. It doesn't have to come to a law. The only time you go to a law is when nobody's listening to what's out there. It could be a policy, like take Joe Ardodo, for instance. It's just a policy. But the outcry there now is to come to this decision-making process and let's put some laws forward so the people can start respecting each other. Does it take a law to have respect? No, it shouldn't. We should have common sense to do that.
we should. But you're of an age, I'm not far behind you. When you look back a few years, it's a different Kahnawake now. Not only is it different in terms of how people operate, but it was so much bigger. I mean, it's so much bigger now. The community was so much smaller before. I mean, there was no South Texas. There was no area down past the old Tootsie's store and all of that stuff. The town used to end at Blind Lady's Hill. It's a different era, a lot more people. A lot of people seem to have forgotten about, you know, some of the words like respect. Everybody uses the word.
Use the word, but we don't know what it means.
Yeah. I have a question. Again, since so many people talk to you, and you've said right here a few minutes ago, there needs to be more participation. What are people saying to you about the community decision-making process? Now, we've had quite a few meetings on justice and now a couple of others on here. What are people saying?
Well, a lot of them said to me, and I'm not scared to say it, is that, well, the council is leading it. The council is pushing it. But then when they really look at it, it's not the council pushing it. It's the community is the one that's giving the direction. It's the community's voice that's pushing this forward. And now a lot of those people that told me that says, well, they are looking at it more, and they're saying, well, we want to participate more because it is our voice that is saying this and saying that to make this happen with everybody's consent.
Well, in effect, council is pushing, I would say, because council is saying, here, we're responding.
That was the demand of the community. You're not involving us in any of your decisions, so, well, here it is. You got to be, I guess, that there's a frame saying, you got to be careful what you ask for. Well, here it is. Community's been asking for this, well, let's do it. You asked for it, you got it, now participate. It can only work with you, the community.
Mm-hmm. That's been a concern. Not everybody participates. Not everybody even supports it.
Yeah, and I talked to a few people that could say they don't support council. That's the reason they don't participate in these sessions, but that they said, well, we weren't invited. Who wasn't invited? Certain individual groups? It's not like that. This is a community decision-making process. Community is the key word here. Everybody in the community has the right to come there and to voice their concern, whether they support it or not. But get there and participate and voice your concern. Because if you don't say nothing, then your voice is never heard. Then everything seems like, well, they're not saying nothing, so I guess silence is like a yes, you know. But the opportunity is here now, participate. Whether you're Catholic, Protestant, Jehovah, Longhouse, participate. Now is your time to do the right thing for the better of the community in the future.
I guess the best example you can look at right now is most of the laws that are in the hopper being proposed. When you look at the electoral law, it didn't come from the council because they'd be in kind of a conflict of interest as council chiefs. Yeah. They're not going to say, put that out there. So a former electoral officer put that law forth.
Not only one, three or four put recommendations on that the law should be changed. For me, with electoral reform, my opinion on that is when you go and run, like the next election, if I run and I'm not elected, that's electoral reform, because if you don't win your election, then you're not doing your job. They put somebody else there, that's electoral reform. That's my opinion on that, you know.
But like I was saying, individual community members are putting that forth. Even the anti-tobacco law, which we talk about, and that's something we haven't really talked about at length. It scares some people. Some people in the industry, in the tobacco industry, get a little nervous, saying, "Well, what's this council putting this out there?" Again,
it's not council.
No,
it's a community member that came forward that he feels that there should be a law on the anti-tobacco. Some people agree. The majority of the people I talk to do not agree. The kids got guts, you know, to put something like that forward, and especially with the tobacco, the way it supports the community, it provides jobs, it provides a lot to the community, you know, a lot of benefits. And we'll find out when it's coming now, it's coming soon. I personally don't think that we need a tobacco law, but we do need regulations. We do need regulations on this. Well, yeah. And that's even, I heard that's coming, going to be something that's going to hit the community soon, that it's going to hopefully be accepted.
Yeah, well, they're working on that. But again, it shows that a community member can say, I think we need a law, bring it forth, it comes to the process. The community then has the opportunity to say yes or no, we move forward with it. And that's what it's all about. Yeah. Individuals, we talked on the first half of the program, the sort of a zoning law that's being proposed. Again, that didn't come from chief and council. That came from 39 community members.
And I think they're all women.
Yeah.
Yeah, all women that did it, because I got a number of calls on it. The recent one I could mention is the big building across from Onkwarihwa'shon School, is that they were really upset. Neighbors were upset because look out their window and you don't see nothing no more but a big wall. Yeah, no, you know, that started way back when with the castle. There's all these things that affect the heart of the town. If these buildings were built on the outside of the community, there wouldn't be no uproar, because it doesn't bother anybody outside there. But then again, the people on the outlying areas, we don't know if it'll affect them. It depends on the location. So I think that's why we need to have certain areas zoning in the community for large structures, and to, I guess, develop the outlying areas in the community for development and economic basis in the future.
And of course, when that law comes out, you, the people, will be the ones to say whether it's needed or never mind, we're happy the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We only have about a minute left. Martin, anything left you'd like to say?
Well, I'd like to see the community have more participation in there. And don't forget all these things that we're doing. And if the community's involvement in there and it's good for the people, then how we say that they're going to go. If it's good for the people, then we stand up another rafter, another rib to make our thing stronger. That's my my message to the community is participate.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It seems we just barely got warmed up. This could have easily kept going.
And a lot of other things I'd like to say, but you know, I'll say it in my way. I'll get it out there. My voice will be heard too.
All right. Well, Chief Martin LeBourne, member of the Chiefs Advisory Committee. The advice from the Advisory Committee: make sure that the process is followed exactly the way it's supposed to be followed. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for watching. We'd like to thank Honda Horn-Miller, our coordinator for the KLCC, for being on for the first portion of the program. And we hope to see you on future programs and see you at some of the meetings that are upcoming. For all of us here, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Nyaukoa tano Onkwarihwa'shon.
You're watching Mohawk TV on Local Channel 4, Kahnawake first community station.
Kanya ke haga thadiadaraste kayernga yadu zewaderoru.